Happy Friday, Jumbo fellow adventurers. Thoughts become things. Mike Dooley here. Time for a spiritual tune-up. Thanks so much for the great questions you asked below on the day of a broadcast on Facebook or Instagram. They could be my talking points next week. So post below. Thank you also for the sharing, the interaction, the engagement, the stars. It means the world. Okay, so today's question. Why do people get sick and suffer before dying? Specifically, Mike, we don't all die easily in our sleep. Why do most people, presumably most, I don't know if that's true, suffer and get sick prior to death? If we choose our human experience before we even get here, what's the reason for the choosing of the method of exit? Why would someone choose to suffer in the manner that they do? Why would we choose such? Okay, a couple of concurrent concepts are implied in this question. First and foremost is that we all choose in advance not only who we're going to be, when we're going to be born, the time of our death, but the method of our death. The only thing that's chosen before a lifetime are the parameters on stage that we will be born into. We choose the time, the millennia, the date, the city. We choose our parents. Why? Because we see the likely trajectories that their lives and thereby our own lives might go. We choose parents that might be inclinated towards the arts, or inclinated towards drugs, or inclinated towards being bad parents, or really good parents, based on how that will complement what we most want for our adventure. Can you imagine that not everybody wants to be born in Beverly Hills 90210 with a silver spoon in their mouth? I mean, it might be nice once or twice, but after a few thousand times, you'd be like, come on, I want the real deal. I want to be really scared. I want to be really happy. I want to get really lost. I want to be totally found. Sometimes you might not want parents that will guide you every step of the way. Sometimes you'd want to find out what your own metal is made of by not having parents that are helicoptering above you. Other times you would exactly want parents that helicopter. You choose the basic initial parameters of the stage of your life, given the type of adventures most likely it will create. But once you're here, oh my gosh, anything and everything can and could and does change. Not typically profoundly. I mean, if you've got one parent that's drawn to the arts, they'll always be drawn to the arts. If you have one person who spent their whole lifetime in addiction, they'll probably always be in addiction. People can change, though, and they do all the time. So nothing is set in stone. While we do pick our parents and the time and space and place and planet and city of our birth, we have no idea, for the most part, the means nor the timing through which that incarnation will end. Once we hit the ground, our adventure begins. We learn, we move, we groove. Now, if you chose to be born into Germany during Hitler's reign, you would see that depending on your culture, what some of the probabilities were. And it happens all the time, sadly, that children, before they even get to live and hardly think on their own, are taken from us. But this would have been in the realm, in the cards, and seen as a possible outcome of that lifetime. Remember, like I said yesterday and many other times, that the timing of death and the manner of death is not necessarily all that characterizes the lifetime. In fact, it might just be almost irrelevant how somebody dies, given all else that might happen from birth to the time of death. Less true for children, but potentially equally true. So once you get going in your life, you change. You were leaning this way, now you're leaning that way. You see new possibilities, new fears, lions, tigers, and bears. The whole world starts changing. You start dealing with the world acting as if it was happening to you as you slowly realize you are happening to earth, to the world. This is what we're all learning right now. You are the prime cause. You are the prime mover of your existence. But until you get there, you're reacting. And so you develop beliefs to help you cope. You develop strengths and gifts and fears and all of that. And as any journey unfolds, the more there is conflict and confusion in one's mind, the more unpredictable and bumpy the path. Okay? So if you get that you're of God, by God, pure God, if you get that everyone's doing their best, if you get that you live in a paradise hurled through the cosmos on this beautiful emerald planet, all of a sudden everything starts getting easier. You're in tune with reality. You're in alignment with truth. Your health improves. Your joy improves. And it's very, very likely, depending on other desires, criteria, and fears, that you're going to have a smooth passage from this world to the next, at whatever age suits your adventure and suits your other thoughts. Conversely, if you're scared and you're fearful and you think God's angry and people are mean, or it's all one big random accident that we're even alive at all of these bogus thoughts out of alignment with fear will bring about chaos. Just like in the smallest of ways, internal confusion will lead to the common cold. Just like global confusion with priorities and the like will lead to a pandemic. And it's these ailments that give us pause to self-reflect and find out what we're missing. Now, not everybody takes the bait. Not everybody knows they have that power, but you know. So here's my challenge to you. Where do you hurt today? Physically, back pain, ankle pain, whatever, headaches, or emotionally? Where do you hurt today? And that is where you are out of alignment with truth. And I'm not taking away from the fact that maybe some jerk did something awful to you. That could happen. But where were you out of alignment with truth that made such a transgression become plausible, become made manifest? Yesterday I talked about blame the victim. There's other spiritual tune-ups where I talk about similar concepts. So I am not justifying things. I am not blaming victims. It's a much more tricky equation than just saying, oh, he's blaming the victim. I would never blame the victim. We're all here learning, and we often have unexpected manifestations. And the case in point here with this question is the unexpected manifestation of a slow and painful death, as implied by several questioners of this topic. So I want to throw out one other thing that might not readily come to mind when trying to understand somebody else's passage. My mother, who I was extremely close to my entire life, probably talked on the phone maybe every day of my adult life, passed away about 4 or 5 years ago. And it was a slow, long decline through Alzheimer's, dementia, whatever. About 10 years was her decline. Almost always throughout it all, she knew who I was. And if she didn't, I would laugh and I would remind her, and she would laugh and say, oh yeah. But there were a few times that she confused me with her brother, her uncle, and different folks. But for the most part, she was able to have at least a short-term conversation. And I would wonder, I always did wonder, why would people choose that? It would come about, as I just shared, through confusion, misunderstanding, not being aligned with truth. But I would also wonder if somebody's done with their life lessons and, their higher self knows that. Why not just go? Why not just, get hit by a train or something like, or have a stroke or just quickly disappear, so to speak. And when this happened to my mother, and it lasted 10 years, and not all of those 10 years were bad. There was a lot of good times in those 10 years, although she was not her former person. I realized something in her passing. It was the day I had dreaded my entire life, literally dreaded since I was a teenager, the passing of my mother. Yet, when I got the phone call from my sister, there was far more relief than grief. And it made me think, maybe that crazy old lady chose a slow departure for me and my siblings, knowing how close all of us were, that this would be one way to better reconcile and move beyond her passing than if, on the other hand, she had suddenly just dropped dead and totally shocked us. We would have, I don't know how we would have ever recovered. Maybe sometimes people choose a way out that you would never choose based on the surface appeal of it. But there was an underlying motivation that took into account your love for them or somebody else's love for them, even if they're, no matter what the circumstances. And this could be equally true of somebody dying quickly. There could be reasons for other people that would serve the greatest good. I always advocate, don't try to figure that all out. Just know there was order. There's perfection. There's healing. There's love raining down upon all of us 24/7. Nothing is as it appears. We are all eternal beings. No goodbye is permanent. All right, I think I hit the marks I wanted to hit. Thanks for the tricky questions as much as the simple questions. Have an amazing Friday, fellow life adventurers. Have the best weekend of your life so far. Please do post questions below on anything under the sun. Death, dying, alternate probable realities where aliens look like unicorns. I'm down on it. All right, happy weekend, everybody. See ya on Monday. Hasta la pronto. Kathy, Winnie, Jane, Deborah on Instagram. Betsy. Faith like gravity. That's got to be such good faith. Asleem. All right. Lisa, Danny, Jackie. Woo! Mwah.